So I would basically do what I could to school myself about the artist. I would allow, I would ask the artist himself, tell me about yourself. I need to know about you. Who are you? And so that I could then, I could absorb it and distill it and turn around and sell it to the media, and then they would turn around and sell it to their readers. Good. And I would spit it back to them and tell them what to expect in an interview as much as I could, as often as I needed to. And then also I would listen to them as they did the interview. And typically afterwards I would say, listen, when he asked you X, I know the answer to that question because you already told me the answer to that question. It's yada, 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 yada. I said, why didn't you say that? You said something else. I said, think about the answer to the question. Think about what you're doing. Think about how it's going to look in print. Figure out a way to make it concise and quotable, the way you already did for me. So that was the kind of thing that would go on. And then there was an element of what you might call crisis management on the press side. And I had to do an awful lot of that because my guys got in trouble over and over again. And so...
Is there any incident that stood out that kind of said, okay, we got to have, I guess, emergency protocols or...
Well, I mean, the most notorious incident was when Professor Griff started, mouthing off in this anti-Semitic fashion, and it really created a shitstorm. And, I did my best to manage it, but there was so much dissension within the group that it became impossible for me to manage. And I finally had to just remove myself from it. I feel like I failed in terms of dealing with it effectively, because at the end of the day, Griff never repudiated his ideas. He would deny that he said it, but he never would say, those ideas are racist ideas. They're hateful ideas, and I disavow them. He couldn't say it because he didn't believe it. He's at the time Farrakhan had a book out, and it's this very it's a fraudulent book. It's a big it's a seemingly scholarly book, but it's put together fraudulently, and it builds a case. The whole idea is to work backwards from these scraps of history to build a case against the Jews in history as the most evil people in the history of the world, and particularly enemies of black folks. And Griff didn't have the resources to put a book like that together, and he's a young black man, and he's trying to figure out. He's a young black man with a conscience and feeling a racial solidarity, and he wants to do what he can to lift up his people. And he's looking for answers, and he's looking for leaders. And Farrakhan appeared to be that guy. He was obviously he's pro-black, and he's independent, and he pisses off a lot of white people, which can't be a bad thing. And so, Griff says, I'm signing up. And when he begins to spout what Farrakhan, what Farrakhan had taught him in effect, and it starts to go wrong,
he didn't have any...
There's he didn't have the resources to shift up. And so, that's a problem. It's a problem for me. And as a Jew, it's a problem for me. But also... it's a problem for Chuck as a black man, because on the one hand, he feels this allegiance to his old friend with whom he formed the group, and on the other hand, he knows that there's no supporting this idea about, the Jews as these tremendous enemies of black folks, not least because in Public Enemy's own experience, If there was a Jewish conspiracy, it was working in favor of Public Enemy. They had a Jewish publicist. They had a Jewish manager named Leor Cohen.
Leor was the broker.
They had a Jewish producer named Rick Rubin. They had Jewish lawyers. Okay, so these terrible Jews are doing everything they can to work on behalf of Public Enemy. So, you know, Chuck is smart enough to see what's right the hell in front of his face. So that was a terrible situation that I did my best to handle. I don't think I did so very well with. You know, other things were like, what did I have success doing? You know, Nancy Reagan had a Just Say No campaign. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. We tried to get LL involved with it.
Excuse me, this is my wife.